With so many new Star Wars shows and movies bubbling up, it feels like the perfect time for us to explain all the canon timeline in a big video. With all these new stories, it sometimes feels like navigating hyperspace without a map, right? But don't worry, we'll break it all down nice and easy. Now before we jump in, let's get one thing straight. When we talk about the timeline, you'll often hear about BBY and ABY. It stands before the Battle of Yavin, and after the Battle of Yavin. Basically, the super important moment when Luke Skywalker blew up the first Death Star in A New Hope, that's year 0. Everything before that is BBY, everything after is ABY. Also, a little note on canon. When Disney took over, they streamlined things. The original 6 movies and the Clone Wars animated series were the foundation. Everything else like books, comics, games from the old days, now called legends, were mostly set aside. Though Lucasfilms does sometimes borrow cool ideas and characters from legends and bring them into the new canon. So while some of the names might sound familiar if you were deep into the old expanded universe, the stories are often quite different now. We're sticking to the official canon story as it stands today. Alright, enough preamble. Let's rewind the clock. Way back. Our journey begins in an era that's still largely shrouded in mystery, in the current canon, known as the Dawn of the Jedi. We're talking roughly 25,000 years BBY here. That's like ancient history, even for a galaxy far, far away. Now, the same name comes from a Legends comic series that explored a group called the Jedi on a planet called Tython, who were trying to balance both the light and dark sides of the Force. That story was set even earlier, almost 26,000 BBY. In the current canon, we know next to nothing about this period officially, except that it's an era where the Force, this mystical energy field that binds the galaxy together, first began to be understood and harnessed. Think about that for a second. How did beings first figure out that they could feel and interact with the Force? How did they learn to wield it? These are the fundamental questions that are set to be explored in a brand new movie coming from James Mangold, the brilliant mind behind movies like Logan and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. He described his vision for this film as being inspired by biblical epics, focusing on the very origins of the Force being known. It's a massive, exciting blank slate, reaching further back into galactic history than anything we've seen on screen before. What we know from Legends about this time is likely not what we'll see in canon, but knowing Lucasfilm, they might just pull a cool concept or two forward. Following the Dawn of the Jedi, we enter the vast expanse of the Old Republic. In Legends, this era was huge. We're talking thousands upon thousands of years filled with galactic wars, massive conflicts between Jedi and Sith, Mandalorian invasions, and epic sagas like Knights of the Old Republic. But in the current canon, well, it's pretty sparse right now. We have small mentions here and there, little hints in books and shows, but no overarching narrative defining this period. Fans really want to see this era explored in canon, and honestly, it feels like it's only a matter of time. There's so much potential for new stories, for exploring the early days of the Republic and the Jedi Order, and for introducing or readapting iconic characters from the Legends version. The big question mark here is the long-awaited remake of the Knights of the Old Republic video game. Will it be canon? Will it tell a new version of that legendary story? We just don't know yet. And for those of you playing the ongoing MMORPG, The Old Republic, just know that everything happening in the game exists firmly in the Legends timeline. It's still fun, but it's not the current canon story. There's actually a pretty big gap in the current canon narrative right now, stretching about 500 years between the end of whatever the canon Old Republic was like and the start of our next major era, the High Republic. Now, Lucasfilm might decide to shorten that gap later, bringing the end of the Old Republic closer, but for now, there's this chunk of time we know nothing about. The High Republic era kicks off around 500 BBY, and is a period that was first really fleshed out starting in 2021 through a massive multimedia initiative. This era bridges that gap between the Old Republic's tumultuous past and the more familiar time right before the Phantom Menace. If you've heard people call it the Golden Age of the Galactic Republic and the Jedi Order, that's exactly what it was. The Republic was at its peak, expanding beautifully, and the Jedi were its noble guardians, spread throughout the galaxy, acting more like space knights errant than the cloistered guardians we see later. Think of it as a time of peace and prosperity, but not without its threats. While the Sith are believed to be extinct during most of this era, or at least operating so far in the shadows that no one credible takes them seriously, there are still insidious forces at work. One of the main antagonists early on are the Nihil, a group of chaotic, brutal space marauders who use unpredictable hyperspace lanes to strike terror across the frontier. There's also the terrifying plant-like creatures called the Drengir. Key events during this period, as laid out in the stories, include major disasters, like the Great Hyperspace Disaster around 232 BBY, which caused immense destruction, the conflict with the Drengir, and the Nihil's escalating attacks. culminating in the devastating destruction of Starlight Beacon, a symbol of Republic hope and reach, around 230 BBY. This is also when the galaxy learns the terrifying face of the Nile's leader, Marchion Ro. More recently, this era has made its way to screens. Young Jedi Adventures is a cute show for younger viewers set during the High Republic, showing what Jedi younglings were up to. And then there's The Acolyte, which takes place much later in the era, around 132 BBY. This show is a murder mystery that delves into secrets the Jedi thought were buried. It explores dark side users operating in the shadows, revealing connections that hint at the return of the Sith, or at least their dark influence resurfacing. It shows us that even in this golden age, the seeds of darkness were being sown. Although The Acolyte only got one season, the events it depicts, like the murder of Jedi Master Indara, and the investigation led by Jedi, and the mysterious Osha Anisea, are crucial in showing how things started to unravel for the Jedi Order. There's also the mysterious Star Wars Eclipse video game, which is rumored to be set in this era, but details are scarce and development seems to be slow. Alright, moving on from the Golden Age, we transition into the fall of the Jedi era. This is the period most familiar to the prequel trilogy fans, covering the decades leading up to the devastating Order 66. It's a time of declining peace, rising tensions, and the galaxy unknowingly being manipulated by dark forces. The era really kicks off in the decades before the Phantom Menace. We learn about events like the mysterious conception of Anakin Skywalker around 41 BBY, born to his mother Shmi without a known father, hinting at a connection to the Force itself. The big events of this era are largely told through the prequel movies and the excellent Clone Wars animated series, but we also get crucial context from other media, like the animated anthology Tales of the Jedi. The Phantom Menace 32 BBY throws us into the political intrigue of the Trade Federation's invasion of Naboo. It's here we meet young Anakin on Tatooine, who's discovered by Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn. It's also where we see the true evil emerge from the shadows, with the Sith Lord Darth Maul, facing Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan Kenobi. This film sets the stage for the political rise of Senator Palpatine, who, unbeknownst to almost everyone, is actually the Sith Lord Darth Sidious. Orchestrating events from the shadows, Qui-Gon tragically dies battling Maul, and Anakin begins his Jedi training under Obi-Wan. Tales of the Jedi fills in blanks from this time, showing us events like Count Dooku, secretly Darth Sidious's apprentice Darth Tyrannus, murdering Jedi Master Yaddle. It also reveals how Jedi Master Sifo Dyas, tricked by the Sith, commissioned the Kaminoans to create the clone army that the Republic would desperately need later. A decade passes and we arrive at the Attack of the Clones, 22 BBY. Tensions have been building, and a separatist movement led by former Jedi Master Count Dooku is threatening to splinter the Republic. Anakin is now a young, powerful Jedi Padawan, assigned to protect Senator Padme Amidala, with whom he's forbidden to form attachments. Yet their connection grows. Obi-Wan's investigation into assassination attempts on Padme leads him to the ocean planet Kamino, where he discovers the massive, ready-made clone army. Meanwhile, Anakin's personal journey takes a dark turn when his mother is captured and killed by Tusken Raiders, leading him to slaughter their entire village. The film culminates in the Battle of Geonosis, where the clone army is deployed for the first time, igniting the galaxy-wide conflict known as the Clone Wars. We see Jango Fett, the template for the clones, killed by Mace Windu, leaving his young clone's son, Boba Fett, an orphan, who soon begins his journey as a bounty hunter. Anakin loses a hand fighting Dooku, and in secret marries Padme. The Clone Wars era, largely depicted in the fantastic animated series, which started in 22 BBY, runs concurrently with the last years of the fall of the Jedi era. This show expanded the universe massively, showing countless battles, political maneuvering, and the personal toll of the war on everyone, especially the Jedi. We see Anakin assigned his own Padawan, the spirited and often frustrating Ahsoka Tano, in 22 BBY. Their relationship becomes a central emotional core of the series. We see the construction of the Death Star begin in secret around 20 BBY, a terrifying project driven by individuals like Orson Krennic. Dark-side characters like Asajj Ventress are explored, showing the complexity of the Sith's influence. And in a shocking twist, the seemingly dead Darth Maul is found alive by his brother Savage Opress, and seeks revenge, eventually leading to galactic chaos. In 19 BBY, Maul's machinations reach Mandalore, resulting in the death of Duchess Satine Kryze, Obi-Wan's friend, and his own capture by Darth Sidious. The final years of the Clone Wars, 19 BBY, is a whirlwind of tragedy. Dooku and General Grievous, the Separatist military leader, are killed. The climax sees Chancellor Palpatine reveal his true identity as Darth Sidious to Mace Windu. When Windu attempts to arrest him, Anakin, torn by his fear of losing Padme and manipulated by Palpatine, intervenes, leading to Windu's death and Anakin's full turn to the dark side, becoming Darth Vader. Palpatine immediately executes Order 66, a pre-programmed command in the clone troopers that turns them against their Jedi generals, wiping out most of the Order across the galaxy in a horrific purge. Vader, now fully under Sidious sway, leads the attack on the Jedi Temple and massacres the remaining Separatist leaders. The era culminates in the heartbreaking duel on Mustafar between Obi-Wan and Vader, where Obi-Wan reluctantly leaves his former friend for dead. Simultaneously, Padme gives birth to twins, Luke and Leia, before dying, her heart broken. The twins are hidden, Luke with Owen and Beru Lars on Tatooine, and Leia with Bail and Breha Organa on Alderaan. Ahsoka, Maul, Obi-Wan, and Yoda are among the few survivors who go into hiding, scattered across the galaxy. This brutal transition ushers in the reign of the Empire era, starting immediately after Order 66 in 19 BBY. Darkness blankets the galaxy as the newly formed Galactic Empire, with Emperor Palpatine at its head and Darth Vader enforcing his will, rapidly expands its control. This period is characterized by oppression, fear, and the hunting of remaining Jedi. Many Star Wars games, comic books, and novels are set during this era, exploring different corners of the Imperial regime. The critically acclaimed Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and its sequel Star Wars Jedi Survivor are set here, following a young Padawan survivor named Cal Kestis, trying to evade Imperial Inquisitors. Former Jedi or Force sensitives turn to the dark side to hunt their own kind. The Obi-Wan Kenobi TV series 9 BBY gives us a look at the exiled Jedi Master watching over young Luke on Tatooine and being drawn out of hiding to rescue a young Princess Leia who's being used as bait by the Inquisitors and Darth Vader himself. This show gives us a powerful rematch between Obi-Wan and Vader, showing the immense power and cruelty Vader now possesses. The Solo, a Star Wars story movie set around 13 to 10 BBY, shows us the rough and tumble beginnings of Han Solo, his time in the Imperial Navy, meeting Chewbacca, winning the Millennium Falcon from Lando Calrissian, and getting entangled with the Crimson Dawn Syndicate, secretly led by the very much alive Darth Maul. The animated series The Bad Batch, starting right after Order 66 in 19 BBY, follows a group of genetically modified, distinct clone troopers who didn't fully comply with Order 66 and are trying to find their place in a galaxy rapidly changing under Imperial rule. Other events from this time include scientist Galen Erso, critical to the Death Star project, leaving Coruscant in 17 BBY after being forced to work on the superweapon. Years later, in 13 BBY, Imperial Director Orson Krennic kills Galen's wife Lyra, and Galen sends their daughter Jyn into hiding, where she's eventually raised by radical rebel Saw Gerrera. While the Empire's grip is strong, the seeds of defiance begin to sprout more openly around 5 BBY, marking the beginning of the Age of Rebellion. This period is heavily explored in the animated series Star Wars Rebels, starting 5 BBY, and the gritty live-action show Andor starting 5 BBY. Rebels introduces us to Ezra Bridger, an orphan on the Imperial-occupied planet Lothal, who falls in with the crew of the Ghost, a small group of proto-rebels formed by former Jedi Padawan Kanan Jarrus and Hera Syndulla. Ezra begins training in the ways of the Jedi under Kanan, giving us a unique perspective on Jedi training outside of the formal temple structure. Andor tells the story of Cassian Andor, and how he becomes a dedicated rebel operative after being recruited by Luthen Rael, following a series of desperate events on the planet Ferrix. As the era progresses, more familiar faces join the fight. Ahsoka Tano, back from her post-Jedi Order journey, joins the rebel cause around 4 BBY. As do some of the few surviving clone troopers who resisted Order 66, like Captain Rex. The Empire's occupation of Lothal becomes a central conflict in Rebels. In 3 BBY, Kanan is blinded by a vengeful Maul, and Ahsoka faces off against her former master, Darth Vader, in a powerful and emotional confrontation. In 2 BBY, Obi-Wan Kenobi finally faces Maul for the last time on Tatooine, bringing an end to their long, intertwined saga. This year also sees Mon Mothma, a senator who was secretly aiding the Resistance, formally resign from the Imperial Senate and announce the formation of the Rebel Alliance, a crucial step in uniting the various Resistance cells. Grand Admiral Thrawn, a brilliant Imperial strategist introduced in Rebels, deals a heavy blow to the Alliance, forcing them to relocate their main base. The final years of the Age of Rebellion are packed with pivotal events from 1 BBY to 4 ABY. In 1 BBY, Kanan Jarrus makes the ultimate sacrifice to save the Ghost crew. Ezra Bridger, now a more confident Jedi, leads the effort to liberate Lothal from the Empire. In a climactic confrontation, Ezra and Grand Admiral Thrawn are taken into hyperspace by the mysterious Purgils, which are space whales that navigate hyperspace, leaving their fate unknown to the galaxy. On Mandalore, Bo-Katan Kryze takes possession of the legendary Darksaber and rallies her people against Imperial invaders. Then we arrive at Year Zero, the events leading up to and including A New Hope, 0 BBY. Rogue One, a Star Wars story, tells the desperate tale of a ragtag group of rebels, including Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor, who steal the plans of the Death Star, the Empire's terrifying planet-killing superweapon. Galen Erso, Jyn's father, had secretly built a weakness into the station. The mission comes at a tremendous cost, with Jyn, Cassian, and countless others dying in the Battle of Scarif, and the Death Star demonstrating its power by partially destroying Jedha and Scarif. The plans are transmitted to Princess Leia Organa. Pursued by Darth Vader, Leia hides the plans in the droid R2-D2, who escapes to Tatooine with C-3PO. On Tatooine, R2 and C-3PO fall into the hands of Luke Skywalker. Luke meets Obi-Wan Kenobi. Ben Kenobi learns about the Force and the Jedi, and sees the message from Leia calling for help. Obi-Wan begins Luke's Jedi training. They enlist the help of smugglers Han Solo and Chewbacca and the Millennium Falcon. The Death Star tragically destroys Alderaan, Leia's home planet. They infiltrate the Death Star, rescue Leia, and Obi-Wan faces Darth Vader one last time, becoming one with the Force to help the others escape. With the Death Star plans in hand, the Rebel Alliance targets the station as it approaches their base on Yavin 4. Guided by Obi-Wan's voice through the Force, Luke fires the shot that destroys the Death Star, a massive victory for the Rebellion. 3 years later, in 3 ABY, the Empire strikes back hard, attacking the Rebel base on Hoth. Luke is contacted by Obi-Wan's Force Ghost and travels to Dagobah to train with Jedi Master Yoda. Meanwhile, Han, Leia, and Chewbacca are pursued by the Empire, eventually seeking refuge with Lando Calrissian. Now running the mining colony on Bespin, Lando is tricked by the Empire and betrays his friends, leading to a confrontation where Luke faces Darth Vader and suffers a devastating defeat, losing a hand and learning the shocking truth. Vader is his father, Anakin Skywalker. The rebels escape, but Han is frozen in carbonite and taken by the bounty hunter Boba Fett. Around this time, the Force-sensitive Palpatine clone, Dathan, escapes the secret Sith citadel on Exegol, where Palpatine's spirit was regenerating, hinting at a long-term plan. In 4 ABY, the climax of the Galactic Civil War unfolds. Luke, Leia, and their friends rescue Han from Jabba the Hutt on Tatooine. Jabba dies, and Boba Fett is seemingly killed, falling into the Sarlacc pit, though we know now he survived. Yoda becomes one with the Force after confirming Vader's identity to Luke and revealing Leia is his twin sister. The Rebel Alliance launches a massive attack on the second Death Star, under construction near the forest moon of Endor. With the help of the native Ewoks, the rebels on the ground disable the station's shield in space. The Rebel fleet faces the Imperial fleet and the Emperor himself. Inside the Death Star, Luke confronts Vader and the Emperor. Faced with his son's imminent death, Vader chooses the light, sacrificing himself to kill Emperor Palpatine. Vader, now Anakin Skywalker once more, dies in Luke's arms. The second Death Star is destroyed, and the galaxy erupts in celebration as the Empire's reign is broken. We briefly flash forward to 4 ABY to see Boba Fett emerge from the Sarlacc pit and be found by Tusken Raiders, beginning his journey on Tatooine that we'd see later. We also hear hints of the Great Purge of Mandalore happening around this time, where the Empire devastates the Mandalorian homeworld, and Bo-Katan loses the Darksaber. With the Emperor and Vader gone, and the second Death Star destroyed, the galaxy enters the era of the New Republic. The Rebel Alliance, now the Provisional Government, quickly regains control of huge swaths of the galaxy, as systems break free from Imperial rule. The New Republic is officially formed, aiming for a more decentralized and representative government than the Old Republic. A crucial turning point is the Battle of Jakku in 5 ABY, where the New Republic military delivers a final, crushing blow to the remnants of the Imperial fleet. However, this isn't the absolute end. Instead of surrendering, many Imperial loyalists and officers retreat into the unknown regions, the unexplored, dangerous parts of the galaxy, to secretly regroup and plan their eventual return. This is where the seeds of the First Order are sown. This 29-year period from 5 ABY to 34 ABY is a time of rebuilding, peace for many, but also simmering threats. It's the era currently being heavily explored by the Mandoverse, shown on Disney+, all building toward a cinematic climax directed by Dave Filoni. The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, and Skeleton Crew all take place here, roughly 5 to 11 ABY. Let's zoom in on these early years of 5 to 11 ABY. We follow the stoic Mandalorian bounty hunter Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, who takes a contract that leads him to a mysterious Force-sensitive child of the same species as Yoda, who is named Grogu. Grogu is incredibly valuable to an Imperial remnant led by Moff Gideon. Din's journey to protect Grogu Grogu and find others of his kind leads him across the galaxy, facing off against Imperial warlords and eventually taking Grogu to seek Jedi training. Meanwhile, Boba Fett, having survived the Sarlacc, 5 to 9 ABY, learns the ways of the Tusken Raiders on Tatooine. After they're wiped out, he partners with the assassin Fennec Shand and eventually takes over Jabba the Hutt's criminal empire, defending it from the Pike Syndicate, the Book of Boba Fett. Din Djarin and Boba Fett cross paths when Din seeks Boba's old armor, which Din had acquired. Around 9 ABY, the events of Skeleton Crew unfold, featuring a group of kids who get lost in the galaxy and stumble upon a hidden planet, drawing unwanted attention from pirates and eventually the New Republic. Returning to Din and Grogu, 9 to 11 ABY, they meet Ahsoka Tano, who's searching for the missing Grand Admiral Thrawn and Ezra Bridger. Ahsoka directs Din to Tython, where Grogu reaches out through the Force and connects with someone powerful, implied to be Luke Skywalker. Grogu is then captured by Moff Gideon. Din Djarin enlists the help of Boba Fett, Fennec Shand, Bo-Katan Kryze, and others to rescue Grogu. Luke Skywalker arrives, saves the day, and takes Grogu to train with him in the ways of the Jedi. Din Djarin defeats Moff Gideon and inadvertently gains possession of the Darksaber. Boba Fett, with Din's help, secures his power base on Tatooine. Luke begins building his new Jedi temple on Ossus. Around 11 ABY, Din Djarin helps Bo-Katan reclaim the Darksaber and unite the scattered Mandalorian clans to retake their devastated homeworld. Moff Gideon is seemingly killed during this effort, and Bo-Katan begins rebuilding Mandalore. Din Djarin and Grogu, now a family unit, settle on Nevarro and occasionally work for the New Republic. Also around 11 ABY, Ahsoka picks up the thread of the search for Thrawn and Ezra. Ahsoka Tano and Sabine Wren, a Mandalorian who had previously attempted Jedi training under Kanan, discovered a map leading to another galaxy, where Ezra and Thrawn were transported. They're pursued by Darkseid users Baylan Skoll and his apprentice Shin Hati, who are working with a Night Sister, Morgan Elsbeth, to bring Thrawn back. Ahsoka and Sabine travel to the distant planet Peridia, find Ezra, and manage to escape back to the known galaxy aboard Thrawn's Star Destroyer, while Thrawn returns with his Night Sister allies to Dathomir. Morgan Elsbeth is defeated, but Baylan and Shin remain on Peridia, pursuing their own mysterious goals. Beyond these shows, the New Republic era also covers the slow rise of the First Order in the shadows, the political struggles within the New Republic government, which proves reluctant to believe the threat of Imperial remnants, and the personal lives of our original heroes. Han Solo and Leia Organa marry and have a son, Ben Solo, in 5 ABY. Tragically, Ben is susceptible to the dark side, and is secretly manipulated by Supreme Leader Snoke, a puppet created by Palpatine, and perhaps Palpatine himself. Luke Skywalker attempts to train a new generation of Jedi, with Ben Solo being his most promising student. However, Luke senses the darkness in Ben, and in a moment of fear, contemplates harming him, leading to Ben's betrayal. Ben Solo falls to the dark side, destroying Luke's Jedi Academy, 28 to 34 ABY, killing all the other students and becoming Kylo Ren, a member of the Knights of Ren. Luke, devastated, goes into exile on the ancient Jedi planet Ahch-To, cutting himself off from the Force. Around 15 ABY, Rey is born on the planet Hyperkarn to her parents Miramir and Dathan, a clone of Palpatine. Her parents hide her on Jakku around 21 ABY from a resurrected Palpatine, and they're later killed by the assassin Ochi while on the run. In 28 ABY, Leia's parentage is revealed to the galaxy, forcing her to leave politics. Recognizing the growing threat that the New Republic is ignoring, she forms the Resistance, a small military force dedicated to fighting against the rising danger. All of this leads to the final era of the Skywalker saga, the rise of the First Order. This period, primarily covered by the sequel trilogy of movies and supplemental materials like the Star Wars Resistance cartoon, is incredibly compressed, but packed with galaxy-altering events, taking place roughly between 34 and 35 ABY. The First Order, emerging from the unknown regions, launches a devastating attack in The Force Awakens in 34 ABY. They use their superweapon, Starkiller Base, to destroy the entire Hosnian Prime system, which includes the capital of the New Republic and its standing fleet. This act of terror cripples the New Republic and allows the First Order to begin its military occupation of the galaxy. The story focuses on new heroes: Rey, a scavenger on Jakku, strong with the Force; Finn, FN-2187, a First Order stormtrooper who defects; and Poe Dameron, a hotshot Resistance pilot. Their paths converge as they search for the legendary Luke Skywalker, whose location is key to restoring hope. They cross paths with Han Solo and Chewbacca aboard the Millennium Falcon. Rey discovers her connection to the Force and uses the lost Skywalker lightsaber. Kylo Ren, obsessed with completing Vader's legacy, kills his own father, Han Solo, in a tragic attempt to fully embrace the dark side. The Resistance destroys Starkiller Base, a victory achieved at great cost. Rey finds Luke on Ahch-To, hoping he will train her. The Last Jedi, also 34 ABY, sees the Resistance on the run, relentlessly pursued by the First Order fleet. Rey attempts to learn from a disillusioned Luke, who is hesitant to get involved after his failure with Ben. She learns more about Ben's fall and believes she can turn him back to the light. She confronts Supreme Leader Snoke, and Kylo Ren turns on his master, killing Snoke. Kylo offers Rey a chance to rule the galaxy with him, creating something new outside the old conflict, but she refuses. They battle over the Skywalker lightsaber, destroying it. The Resistance is decimated, facing overwhelming odds on the mineral planet Crate. Luke Skywalker appears, but it's a Force projection designed to buy the Resistance time to escape. Luke becomes one with the Force, his heroic act inspiring hope across the galaxy. Kylo Ren solidifies his power within the First Order, becoming the new Supreme Leader. Finally, the rise of Skywalker, 35 ABY, brings the saga to a head. Emperor Palpatine is revealed to have survived, his spirit living on in a damaged clone body on the hidden Sith world of Exegol. He and his cult, the Sith Eternal, have built a massive fleet on planet-killing Star Destroyers, the Final Order, hidden in the unknown regions. Kylo Ren learns of Palpatine's return and hunts for him. Rey discovers the shocking truth about her own heritage. She is Palpatine's granddaughter. Palpatine intends for Rey to take his place and rule the galaxy. The Resistance, aided by Lando Calrissian rallying allies from across the galaxy, launches a desperate assault on Exegol. Rey faces Palpatine with the help of a redeemed Ben Solo, who returns to the light after being reached by his mother, Leia Organa, who also becomes one with the Force after using the last of her strength. Rey, drawing on the strength of all the past Jedi, destroys Palpatine for good. Ben Solo sacrifices himself to save Rey after she's drained from the confrontation, becoming one with the Force himself. The Final Order fleet is destroyed, and the galaxy erupts in celebration and revolt against the First Order's occupying forces. The Age of the Sith is finally over. So where does that leave us? 15 years after the Battle of Exegol, around 50 ABY, the galaxy is enjoying a new period of peace and stability. Rey Skywalker, having taken the name to honor her chosen family, is working to rebuild the Jedi Order. This is the premise for the upcoming movie directed by Charmin Obaid-Chinoy. It marks the beginning of a new era, hopefully one where the Jedi can learn from the mistakes of the past and forge a different path, free from the ancient conflict with the Sith. That's it for this video. I hope you liked it. If you want to see another cool video, you can now check this one that's appearing on your screen. Click on it to see. Go ahead, click it.